Stella from Helluva Boss is probably one of the most useless characters and useless villains in the entire story. I do not regret saying that. Why? I mean, it's been proven for 2 seasons, despite of giving her characterization, which I believe that is what they were going to do in season 3, it still will feel like an empty soul. The fact that it just will feel slow for Stella to be given a reason of why she's a bad guy in the first place. But I think I got it all figured out. But here's the thing with that, it's still underwhelming. I do have a lot to say about Stella, even though there wasn't even much about her. It's not the fact that there isn't much about her, it's what could have been about Stella that would make her irrelevant to the story, and how can it connect the affection towards IMP, Blitz, and other characters. In fact, how in the world will it affect Octavia, her own daughter, and Stolas? Well, that's always been the primarily source of affecting others was Stolas. But here's the thing with that, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. They've never given her a reason other than that she's always been this terrible person. Did I say that? Terrible? Yes, she's always been this terrible person, and she has every right to treat others like that, even her friends, even though it's shown that she's very nice to them. I beg differ. However, I'm making this video not to say that this show has terrible villains and nobody should watch it. That is not what this is about. I'm saying there are just some characters, and Stella is one of them, that need to be rewritten and also redrafted. It's kind of what writers do. I mean, as a writer myself, there are a lot of things that I had to redraft, characters, storylines, because I feel like the first draft just didn't work. Do first drafts work? Of course, but you have to actually do some critical thinking in that point. And here, I feel like they made Stella static because of the ship of Blitz and Stolas, which I don't think it's a bad thing that, hey, these two deserve to be together, but the way that they made her static is what I have a problem with, and I'm not the only one. In the beginning, I've always been invested of what type of person Stella is, because I believed that she became this terrible person after the cheating. But here's the thing with that. Yes, Stolas did cheat, but she has every right to be upset with him to the point where she basically would make him miserable. But I think I beg differ in some cases with her character and what they were leading up to it. Because in the beginning, she only cared about Stolas sleeping with the lowest class in hell, and in public in front of her friends, which means her friends would tell the Guisha family about it, which she has every right to be mad, but she never really cared about the marriage. She never really cared about the marriage when it was about love. She only cared for it because Stolas is a prince. She was engaged as a child, arranged by their parents due to social status, and also maybe we could get a little bit of story behind that, which can characterize Stella and the reason why this is all just too much for her. And this whole cheating thing is just a lot. No. I may seem like I'm defending Stella, but I'm not. Stella could be a villain in all sorts of ways. They just didn't give her enough moments, enough characterization. The only times that they've done that was both Blitz and Stolas. Alone in season 2, and a little bit of, Fizz and Asmodeus. More on Fizz's part. I mean, Fizz is connected to Blitz's story, of course. That's just what's exciting about it. Stella, in the beginning, in her childhood, she maybe wasn't all bad. Maybe we could have had this character where Stella, as a young child, probably wanted to do whatever she wanted. She probably never wanted to get married, and she maybe wanted to just be alone and rise up the ranks by herself. Unfortunately, because of her not producing powers just like her brother Androlophus, it could be possible that she's been jealous of her own brother. But that is where her characterization will begin in her villain era, is that she will use her own brother, since he is a duke, as a tool. That is what she does in season 2, but the way it's gone about it, she uses Androlophus not only as the powers that she wished she had, but she basically just stays with him, and that is it. She doesn't really plan anything with Androlophus. It's only when Androlophus comes up with ideas. I mean, he did say and call up the hit that Stolas was about to die by freaking Stryker, all because Androlophus said we need to think about opportunities since Octavia is gonna end up getting everything. This is where I'm a bit confused with that. This is where I am extremely confused with Stella's role in this story of this show. Because when Androlophus points out that if Stolas is killed right now, the entire money and the castle, his belongings, everything, it will not go to Stella. Instead, it will all lead to go with Octavia. There is a reason why she was made the precautionary heir. She is not the heir as if one day this will all be yours, Octavia. No, she is made the precautionary heir as if something happens to Stolas, they will have a replacement, and they will use Octavia as that replacement. Instead of Androlophus, saying, hey, doesn't this affect you that you won't get the money? Instead, what Androlophus got from Stella, it seems like Stella doesn't care about power. Instead, she only cares if Stolas is dead because he cheated on her. Not because of the status, oh no, not because she wants the money. Instead, she replied as if, yeah, she's going to laugh. And Androlophus reminds her that she will get nothing. It doesn't seem to bother Stella. It just seems as if, technically what Stella cares about, as if they just hate each other, and she hates him as much as he hates her. That is it. Okay, let's get back to this. In the first place, she cared about Stolas sleeping with an imp, the lowest class of hell. And now she doesn't care if she kills him, and she doesn't care that any of that will not get towards her. Meaning the riches and everything, his belongings, his castle, will not belong to her, but will instead go to Octavia, in which it seems like she doesn't give a flying fuck about. which is why I'm very conflicted with Stella. In fact, I'm so conflicted with her that in the first place, I've always thought that maybe she wasn't always like this. Maybe she wanted to raise up to the ranks, and that's what they gave us in season 1. But now, it just seems like if they made her to be the villain and on purpose just because Stryker almost stole us in that episode, in which at this point Stella isn't even a character anymore, and that is sad. Stella could have done a lot. She could have actually affected the IMP. In fact, she could hire people in the Green Wing to go and, bring down IMP, bring down Blitz, the freaking imp who literally slept with her husband as payback. But no, this doesn't affect IMP. I mean, in some ways it does because of the book, but hey, I think Stolas has got that covered up. I think the last straw for me, where I realized that Stella is just a tool in this story, was the final fight in the final episode of season 2, where Andrelephus mostly did all the fight, but there was no sign of Stella, probably there witnessing all of it happen. There's a thing called show do not tell, and in this case, it wasn't used properly in this case. That is where I realized that the entire time, Stella wasn't made to be a villain. She's not even called a villain at this point. She was used as a tool for fans to hate, to support the ship, and not focus on important storytelling that will greatly impact the lives of others, just like IMP and Octavia, which I will make a video about her, and it might be my longest video on why Octavia is my favorite character, and they did her so dirty. Don't get me wrong, they did the same thing with Stella. That's why I'm not surprised about this anymore. I wish they'd done a lot with her, but instead, she's nothing. And I really hope people who watch Helluva Boss learn to not make your villains this way, because at this point, the story just feels bland. But anyways, that will be all for today. If you guys have any ideas on how they could have used Stella's character, leave them in the comments section, and I will try my best to reply on how it will work, and will it work, and if your ideas are inspiring, which they always are. This has been H2O Kitty, and I will see you next time.